Welcome to Consumer Adventures. My name is Giorgio Pasqualetto, and in this podcast, I bring you behind the scenes of emerging challenger consumer brands. So today I'm joined by Pepe and Luke, the co-founders of Pink Albatross. Pink Albatross is based in Madrid, Spain, and they make creamy ice creams without artificial ingredients, milk, eggs, or soy. Welcome, Pepe and Luke. Thank you so much for coming to the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. So why don't we start by introducing both of you? So can you tell us a bit more about yourselves, your background before Albatross, and your role in the company now as well?
You go first, please.
Okay. This is Luke. Hi, everyone. Well, I have a marketing background in consumer goods. I worked for Kimberly-Clark and for L'Oreal in the marketing functions and sales function as well. And then I spent the 12 years after that working for Citibank in consumer banking, in different marketing roles in customer experience and research and insights. And about 3 years ago, I decided to shake things up and make life a little bit more interesting. And I gave up my corporate job, which I was very happy with, but I just found something a lot better and interesting to do, which is making plant-based ice cream. It just sounded a lot more enticing. And I've been working with Pepe on this project for the last 3 years, approximately.
Absolutely. Well, hello, I'm Pepe. I have some sort of a similar path, not so much focused on marketing as Luke. So I was mainly focused on sales, in the sales of financing, and of course also sales of equipment, construction equipment and agricultural equipment, so tractors, excavators, and all those sexy things.
Right.
And I had a responsibility for 7 countries when I decided to quit my job because I was traveling too much, and I had a very, very small daughter. Emma, who actually had several food allergies. So she was allergic to dairy, allergic to eggs, and allergic to several other things. And she was on my end, my inspiration to found Pink Albatross together with Luke. So I quit my job without knowing what to do. And across that journey, after quitting the job and trying to find what to do, I actually stumbled upon Luke and said, "Oh, we have different backgrounds, but we need to actually join forces and get our forces together and be able to launch a new product into the market." And that's how we started working together.
That's very interesting, and it's very nice to see this combination of different skills coming together in this project. So before going into the product itself, I've given away some hints already, but I'm very curious about the company name and the logo. Obviously, Pink Albatross. Is there a particular reason or story behind the company?
Yeah, there's definitely a story behind that. When we set out to name the brand or create a brand, there's a certain things that we wanted to comply with or to fulfill. We wanted the name to be memorable, likable, something that people would recognize and something that would stand out, right? So it couldn't be something standard. It just had to be something that, when you're reading like perhaps a list of long brand names and you come across Pink Albatross, it makes you stop and it makes you think a little bit. So we knew that it had to fulfill this criteria of being mysterious, quirkiness, or having a certain quirkiness to it. And the name per se actually comes, part of it comes from what the product stands for, and part of it comes for what we stand for. So the word pink, what it means is pink, as you probably know, in English has a connotation of someone that has pink cheeks is someone that's healthy, right? So our product is clean label. So in that sense, it's a product that's good for you. And we said, well, it can certainly be pink, so we should definitely call it pink. So that was 50% of the challenge fulfilled. And the bird albatross was something that was actually quite interesting to us, and in a way it represented us, because the albatross is a bird that has the ability to fly thousands of miles a day, and it's known for leaving its typical nesting grounds and flying large distances. And both Pepe and me were immigrants. We live in Spain, but we're originally from Argentina and from India, on exact corners of the world. And we met here to embark on this venture. So in a way, we were like albatrosses, and we saw the bird as a figure that represented our stories as immigrants.
That's so interesting. I really like it. So the name both represents yourselves, your stories, but also the main feature of the product. It's great. I really, really like it. You mentioned already some of the features of the product that are important, such as clean label. So tell us a little bit more about the product itself and the concept as well.
When you are the creator of the product, Luke, so
Okay.
you should actually be
So
answering.
I think Pepe made reference to this earlier, and this goes back to why we started this project. I'm a vegan, so I'm always looking for products that are dairy-free, egg-free, or just free of any animal ingredients. And Pepe's daughter, has a lot of different allergies. So he was also searching for products or ingredients that were suitable for her. And where we both typically found a lot of difficulty was when it came to desserts, because desserts are typically, they contain eggs, milk, cream, butter, and gluten, right? Which a lot of people are allergic to or are intolerant to.
Mhm.
So we had this problem, this common problem, and we said, if we solve this problem, we'll be solving it for people that are looking to follow a plant-based diet, as well as people that are looking to avoid, allergies or things like that. So I think that was the genesis of the product, and it was a condition for product development. It had to be 100% plant-based. It had to be free of allergens. That was in the beginning, and of course, it also had to be clean label, because both Pepe and me were particular about what we eat. We're the types of consumers that when you go into supermarket, you spend a lot of time looking really at the back of the pack more than the
Reading
front
the
of the pack.
ingredients,
Yeah,
Mhm.
reading the ingredients. So for us, it was just a natural extension, because we said it doesn't make sense for us to make a product that's not clean label when we're actually, we're particular about what we eat. So the clean label attribute just followed on naturally,
Sure.
if you will. So, we are a plant-based product, but most importantly, I think what we're really driving home is flavor and texture. It is an indulgent product after all.
Yeah.
And, however good it might be for you, or healthy it might be for you, or allergen free that it might be, if it doesn't taste good, if the texture isn't right, there's no point. People aren't going to buy it. So our first and foremost attribute is taste and texture. And we actually find that our plant-based positioning and our clean label positioning actually help to drive that, because we don't put in artificial ingredients or like flavorings or aromas or anything like that. So what happens as a natural consequence is we use more of the original ingredient, because there are no boosters here, if you will. So we're using generous quantities of mango in our ice cream. We're using generous quantity of hazelnuts. So that brings out the natural flavor in all of our ice cream. So flavor and texture first. We're a flavor first company. We're plant-based, we're clean label, and we're free from, except for nuts, which we're still trying to work around, because our product is nut-based.
This is very, very interesting. And I really like the focus on flavor. Flavor for sure is king, and on texture as well. I'm wondering, is it a challenge, or at least was it a challenge at the beginning, to figure out how to deliver on this just using natural and super clean label ingredients?
That can take forever to answer.
No, but you're absolutely right. We don't work with the large majority of the companies that offer flavorings or ingredients, because they're either not plant-based, or they're not clean label, or they're not free from, right? So it's definitely a challenge, but I think that challenge has served us to define an identity and define a product that's become unique in the marketplace, because we've created something that's unique, and it's not off the shelf. So I think, yes, there's a good side to that. There's also a bad side to that, because it's a pain in the neck to be able to find ingredients. But the good side is, because these constraints are so important, they actually end up defining your product and making it so unique that it's difficult to replicate.
This is so powerful. Defining your brand identity, offering something unique, and go basically beyond the obstacles traditionally found in the category. This is absolutely brilliant. What would you say were the main challenges, especially at the beginning, and especially coming from not coming from a food background?
Every single one you can imagine. Absolutely every single one of it. From the fact that we didn't know how to actually, or who were the actual suppliers of ingredients,
Right.
trying to look for a co-packer, understanding what were the quality measures that we should look at when choosing a co-packer, what are the aspects of their internal processes that we had to validate, and of course, then actually the actual commercialization of the product to the different channels. And the main thing that we did is that we partnered with different people. We understood very well. We are old. Come on, we are old guys. We are 44 and 43, so we know which battles we can fight and we know which battles we need support for. And in that case, we were very conscious very early that we didn't know a lot, and in order to be able to overcome those challenges, we needed to partner with people. So we either partnered with companies that support different aspects of the processes that we go through. And we have also been able to hire some people who know very well FMCG, who know very well the food business, and we have been able to sort of convince them to join our company and say that yes, they want to drive Pink Albatross to the next level together with us. So, and those are the key people who form part of our team, which among others, we have Alvaro, Vania, and Carmen, who are the key people on our team that are taking the brand to the next level.
And I think I just wanted to highlight something that Pepe said. I think we've done a few things right. Naming the brand was one of them. And I think one of the other things that we did right was acknowledging our shortcomings and our limitations and finding people to help fill those knowledge gaps. But in no moment did we absolve ourselves and say, okay, they're the experts, I'm going to listen to them. No, it was more about, I don't know this now. It's going to take me too long to learn about it. So I'm going to rely on someone else to guide me for now while I develop my knowledge and competencies.
Absolutely.
It's very interesting.
And I think that's the path that we followed from day one. Because as you said, we don't know anything about ice cream. And we do rely on outside food scientists and our co-packers. But over time, we've also made sure to learn so we can also participate and understand, why we're doing certain things and not just go blindly on the guidance of others.
Absolutely. What we did is with these partners, what we were doing is we were building our own criteria.
Yeah.
So, getting that criteria, we needed some support in terms of, okay, what are the things that we should look at? It's not you do the job, but okay, what do we need to pay attention to? And in some cases, okay, we've actually absorbed that knowledge and we're doing it ourselves. But in most cases, we're also relying on some of the people who will not only support us with those guiding principles, but also they will execute part of the plan, which is quite relevant for us.
That's a very great attitude, and it's a very, very interesting point. I think is a delicate balance there. I was wondering, how long did it take from you coming up or deciding on a product or starting this and actually having a product ready?
Prototype or first launch?
Both of them.
So I think the genesis of the idea was January of 2018. The first prototype was June of 2018. Yeah. And the first launch was a year later from June 2018. So June 2019.
And in terms of the first sales, how did you start selling the products? What channels did you choose?
Okay, so basically we had to choose our channels very wisely at the beginning. First, because we were very much in hypothesis mode and testing mode, and also because we wanted to gather as much information as possible regarding the success of, or the success or the failure of the product in the marketplace. So we chose two main channels, and we chose both channels within the vegan segment, and we chose specialized stores, so vegan stores mainly, and then of course vegan restaurants. And the reason why we chose those two is basically because you usually have an owner, a person who is actually heading that establishment, and it was quite simple to get that first contact with that person and getting that person to try the product. And in case that they like the product, it's quite easy for you to get listed. It's not the same thing trying to go to Carrefour or Tesco or whichever retail chain, and without having experience in the market and trying to have a value proposition for those people, and without enough cash in your wallet, you will not be able to have the right proposal for those guys. So first, we wanted to do is we want to test. So we want to test small. We want to risk as low as possible, but really gather some data on, okay, is it working? Is it rotating? Does people like it? Does people want to repeat, etc.? So with that in mind, we're launching in Madrid and Madrid only, with about, I think it was 15 clients at the beginning, between restaurants and small stores. And we started delivering the product at a very high price point. And when we saw that there was a repurchase rate, that's when we said, okay, we are ready for the next phase. Let's put some more money in, and we are going to boost in that sense. So we went to Barcelona, we went to some other little big cities in Spain, where we knew that we could actually still enter the market through that segment of vegan stores, vegan restaurants, because that was the easiest ones to convince, and where the need for a product like ours was more evident. Okay, and then when all of that actually happened, that's when we actually moved to the next level. And nowadays we are in some regional retailers, which are not vegan, which are just general retailers that you can walk by and enter without any difficulty, and they're very well known. And that's where we are now testing the rotation at that kind of point of sale, which is very different from the one where we started some years ago.
Definitely, quite different. And you mentioned this sort of channels that are quite physical. So I was wondering, how did COVID impacted on all of this and on your business?
Yeah, COVID changed everything for us in many ways, and actually was extremely positive for us, because it allowed us the time to think, because we were not selling at all. Basically, our co-packer at the moment, which is not our current co-packer, closed down, so we didn't have any access to both manufacturing facility or stock.
Right.
So we couldn't sell at all. So that was easy question. Okay, we cannot sell. What can we do? When we started thinking about the business again. So we did a couple of things. First is we managed to raise a finance round, which was very relevant for us to be able to have the right tools and the right people in the business this year. And that was last year when we actually raised a round. Second is we reviewed, okay, our current co-packer at the moment, so they are very small, very artisanal. We need to scale, and how do we scale? So we need a different co-packer with different capabilities. So that led us to actually search for a different co-packer with a different capabilities, and also we had to reformulate the ice cream a little bit to fit that different machinery. And also we said, okay, we need to also have a differentiated facilities. One is the co-packer, another one is where we keep the stock. So we actually have to diversify our risk. And so those are all the things that we've done on top of one last one, which was very relevant. It is dropping the price. As I told you, we launched at a very high price. I wanted to see how it rotated. We launched in Spain 890 euros, which is extremely premium. And nowadays we are at 690. And that was because we understood that we wanted to have a product that was appealing and feasible for most of the people here to buy, and for that reason we couldn't keep a super premium pricing, and also we knew that in order to increase our volume and to increase our presence in the market, we needed to have an appealing price. So that's why we also dropped our price, following our strategy of living in the future, right? Not only focusing on vegan stores and vegan restaurants, also trying to expand our presence to a more generalistic mass consumer customer.
The mainstream, for sure, for sure. What is your ideal target? Do you mostly target vegan consumers or also other kinds of consumers?
So, I wouldn't say we have a few consumer segments that we're trying to address. The vegans are obviously one of them, but they're not the most interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because they're not from a business opportunity size.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the biggest, because vegans are few. They're just
niche, yeah.
0.7, 0.6% of the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's much more interesting are people that are flexitarians, so people that are
Yes.
trying to adopt a plant-based diet, but they're not
Mhm.
there yet. That's quite an interesting number. And then if you look at the population that's either lactose intolerant or are celiac or are interested in gluten-free products, we're talking about typically in Europe anywhere from maybe 30 to 45% of the population. So that's an interesting number right there, right? So we're targeting each of these segments in different ways and using different communication. So
Right.
those are the consumer targets that we're after. And if the ice cream is good, if it's tasty, if it's attractive, if it's attractively priced, and it's available, it's really suitable for anybody that's looking for a premium ice cream. So we don't want to be exclusive for a particular customer segment. We want it to be accessible to anybody who wants to consume a good product.
Absolutely, yes. Flexitarian is for sure the segment that is the most interesting. And in terms of a future vision for the company, for the ranges, what are the next plans?
So, the ice cream category is quite a big category. There's many different formats, there's different channels. And if you go to the supermarket, you'll see that there's ice cream tubs, like pint-sized tubs, but there's also individual size or individual portion ice cream, be it in the form and shape of cones, sandwiches, bars,
Mm-hmm.
single serve cups. So that's really where the market is. The market isn't so much as in the tubs. The tubs, yes,
Yeah.
those are important, but it's really in the other product formats. So we see moving into those product formats as a natural extension. There's still a lot of work to be done in terms of tubs, in terms of flavors. And to that end, we launched 5 flavors this year. We had 4 flavors last year. Now we're up to 9. And we're also working on a different size formats. But moving into cones, bars, sandwiches, I think that's very interesting from a category perspective. And then looking beyond, if you look at the dessert category, it has the same challenges that ice cream does. It's full of animal products and it's full of allergens, right? There's dairy in the shape and form of cream, milk. There's eggs. There's butter. There's of course gluten because of the flour. So there's definitely an interesting potential in the desserts category, and we see it quite feasible and possible to expand the concept and the franchise into other product categories.
For sure, for sure. You mentioned desserts. You mentioned also different kinds of ice cream. I'm thinking, for example, different formats would have, for example, the cone or other elements to it where you can kind of clean the recipe. It's very, very interesting. You also have or follow a concept basically that I really, really like, which is you only use ingredients that you can draw. Can you tell us a little bit more about this principle?
But actually, that came at the very beginning of our search for a positioning. And what we wanted to do is, okay, we wanted to avoid all the artificial flavorings, the aromas, and all of those ingredients that actually, when you are trying to draw maltodextrin, or when you're trying to draw a methyl cellulose, you have no idea what you're talking about. Now try drawing a cashew nut or a mango or a coconut oil or something
I'm
like
not a
that.
great drawer, but I think I could.
So yeah, okay, but that depends on the quality. I mean, I'm horrible at drawing, but basically what we wanted to do is basically it's how to transmit that we are using the most natural ingredients we can find in a way that is understandable by every single person. And that's why we chose this path of actually, okay, what happens if we draw our ingredients? I said yes, because our ingredients are easy to pronounce and they can be drawn, because it's something that you can actually see, touch, and interact with easily in everybody's homes. And that was our key driver, choosing our positioning. And in that extent, that's something that we do very clearly in our packaging. So besides listing the ingredients, which everybody has to do, is we have one specific section, which is almost 1/3 of the packaging, where we basically draw every single ingredient that we use. But even beyond that, we want to be as transparent as possible. So we also have a QR code on our packaging, that if you scan it, you basically get more information on the ingredients. Why do we use it? What is it made for? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that you actually going to get even more information that the drawing. So the listing plus the drawing plus the QR gives the consumer total transparency of what we're using and why.
Is there some initiative or some activity that worked really well that you implemented in your brand that some other entrepreneurs could take inspiration from?
In what sense?
I'm thinking some campaign or some partnership or some activity that you did that, I don't know, for example, increased the awareness a lot, or really moved the business forward, that you had an aha moment and you thought, okay, this really, really worked?
I think that so far there have been quite several moments where actually we understood better who we are fighting against. But actually, it's been, first of all, it's been aware that besides what you're doing, the competition is doing a lot of things too. So don't forget about that. That's key. You think you're innovating, they are doing the same thing.
Right.
They're all innovating. But I think one of the key aha moments for us, at least on the commercial side, was understanding that you need full knowledge of the channels that you want to actually start with, especially when you're dealing with modern retail, so supermarkets. It's not that easy to get into supermarkets and be successful there. And it's not just the fact that you get the central listing from anybody who actually makes the decision, yes, I like your product, I'm going to list it. Then that's where the work actually starts. Need to go to the stores, you need to have the product on the shelves, you need to have them positioned right, you need to understand what the competition is doing on the shelves, and that takes a huge amount of resources that you need to account for. And that's something that many times is overlooked, at least for us at the beginning, until we actually got the right people on the team who flagged that out, flagged it out to us, said, okay, we didn't thought of that, we didn't think it was that relevant, but it actually was extremely relevant. Now, regarding awareness, I think there's also a couple of activities that we've done, especially with influencers, that worked very well. And what we've seen is that influencers are eager for content. They want to have content. But they also want to have cool content. So it's not just the fact that you send them the product, but if the product actually looks cool, looks nice, it's actually something worth taking a picture with
that you want to share. Yeah.
And you actually take care of those people who are sharing their reach with you. So you need to actually have something for them, so that they understand that it's not just the fact that you're asking them for just reach, but you're actually caring about them and you actually want to work with them towards the future. And that's something that was also quite a relevant breakthrough. And our results working with influencers has increased a lot when we actually realized that and actually took care of those people who were giving us that amount of reach and awareness and engagement with their communities, that we actually have increased our presence in social media.
That's very, very interesting. What platforms are you using?
Mainly Instagram, and then on residually Facebook and LinkedIn for business purposes. But our consumer target really is on Instagram.
Right. Very interesting. Yes.
So that's where we're paying the most. That's where we're dedicating the most focus to.
That totally makes sense. You want to be where your consumer is. Um, I know that you joined the Proveg incubator in 2019. So I wanted to ask you, can you tell us a bit more about what Proveg is and about your experience there as well?
So Probag is it's an incubator program, as the name suggests. It's the first of its kind, I believe, in the world, if not most certainly so in Europe. And we joined the third cohort, so we had just launched. I believe it was the third cohort. We had just launched. They had just launched their program, I think, about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what was interesting for us was we were newcomers to the food space because we had no relevant food background. So it was a great way to get to know people in the space, people that are setting up their own companies, their own startups, that are going through similar challenges. So it was great from that perspective. But we also got to meet a lot of people that were in the industry. So people in the sales functions, people in the research and development functions, people that are food scientists, people that know production and manufacturing. And of course, what was really important for us was also ProVeg was a way or a potential way to meet investors. And that's actually how we met one of our investors. It was at the demo day or the pitch day, which was the last day of the program, in which we had to present to potential investors, and that's how we met our one of our current investors.
Right, that's very interesting. And the incubator is in Berlin, right? So
Correct.
It's outside
Yeah.
of Spain.
Yes, and we were required to be there. I think it was a 3-month program, and we were required to be there for in person 4 weeks.
Sure. And how come you went abroad, so outside of Spain, to Germany, for incubation and for this kind of activity?
You know, Spain has changed a lot, I think, in the last 2.5 years. In
Mhm.
that sense, the food space, the incubator space, there's many more developmental programs now
Yeah.
that there were just 2.5 or 3 years ago. So that's why I think we looked outside. We were also looking for a way to accelerate,
Yeah.
and it just seemed to make a lot of sense because they focused on plant-based companies. So there was
Sure.
that fit.
Mhm.
And they were looking at
Specialized.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. This was very specialized. So I think that's the main reason why we went.
Totally makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. Next, where I would like to go is a little bit more into some more personal question, and I wanted to ask each of you if you have always known that you wanted to start your own companies and be entrepreneurs.
No, okay, I go first. No, for me, no way. I was extremely happy at some time in my
Mhm.
life working for somebody else, having my paycheck every single month. That was extremely comfortable, and I was actually quite successful with my professional life. So actually, I was not thinking about developing a brand or a product by myself or having a company. But that changed with my trigger, which was Emma,
Mhm.
my oldest daughter. So when she had those allergies, that's when, okay, I need to find something. And when you are unable to find something on the market, you said, okay, how can we actually build it by ourselves? And that was my trigger on, okay, I want to do something, and I want that something to have an impact on people's life.
Mhm. So it really came out of need and out of love as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think in my case, I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but for some reason I just subdued those feelings, and I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was just a lack of risk-taking ability, or it was just trying to stick with the known. But I don't think that corporate life was ever cut out for me. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but there was just no connection to the output. There was no connection to the purpose of
No purpose. Absolutely.
of what you were doing every single day for so many hours. And I really I owe a lot to corporate life, and I really enjoyed it, and I learned so much. And I think part of the reason why we've managed to survive into year 3, a lot of that we owe to our corporate experience. But in my personal case, there wasn't that connection that I needed to feel fulfilled. So there came a point in time where I just, examined my thoughts. I examined, what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I said, at some point in time, you're going to have to take the risk. And I think I mustered the courage to take that risk. And now I'm here. And I'm grateful for that.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very beautiful. And did you ever look back on that decision, or perhaps more interestingly, what keeps you going when you encounter some challenges, or when things are not easy, basically?
I don't think I've looked back even once. And for me, I think all the hardships have. I think if anything, they've just made me want to delve more into the business, because it just makes me think that, if this is how hard it's going to be an entrepreneur, then very few people are going to be successful. So that's all the more reason why we have to be more committed and try and get this problem resolved. So for me, it's been just the contrary. It's just served as a motivation
Fuel.
to further.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, but it is a roller coaster. I mean, sometimes you have all the adrenaline, and then you're extremely happy, then you're extremely depressed because something didn't go right. But the thing is that both those feelings, I mean, when you actually put one on top of the other, then you see that basically the sum of the two is always positive, and that's what keeps you moving forward and actually wanting to develop even more and want to do more and want to achieve more. And we are both extremely I say ambitious in what we want to achieve, and exigentes. How do you say exigentes? Demanding. We are extremely demanding on what we want to do, and that with that in mind, it says we are not stopping, and we're not looking back. Sometimes you can think about, oh, I was so happy, or it was so great to have those euros getting into our account every single month without that much effort. But at the end, it says yes, but they were sad euros. It was not happy euros. They were not enjoyable euros. So at the end, it said no, I will not go back. But it was, but it was extremely needed. I think that without that corporate experience, as Luke was saying, probably we wouldn't be here. And it's a key for learning. I think for every single person. I mean, going through a corporate life is extremely useful.
For sure. And also in the positions where you were, so sales, marketing, for sure it helped a lot, I'm imagining, to build the business.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
So if you were to give one piece of advice to somebody who's about to start their own food and drink brand, what would you tell them?
Launch, test, react, and learn.
Yeah, I would say just start, because too many people get trapped in the ideation or the concept phase. And I mean, yes, you need to go through that, but you need to limit it in time, because ultimately, you have to get your product out, because everything prior to that moment is just theory. It's only when the product hits the store shelves, is in the right packaging, in the right price, in the right format, in the right place, does the game really begin. Everything up until that point is just preparation.
Yeah.
Makes total sense, and is something definitely that I'm hearing a lot from entrepreneurs. Just start. Don't overthink it. Start and produce. And in your experience so far, what does it take to be a food entrepreneur and build a brand in this sector?
I think tenacity is one thing.
Yes.
That applies not only to food entrepreneurship, but just in I think life in general, and most certainly so as an entrepreneur. So that I would put that at the top of the list. At least for me.
And yeah, but besides the personal aspect on what we need to put in, is also I'd try to surround with people who know a lot more than you, because there's a tons of those. And without them, it's very, very difficult to actually succeed in anything, not just entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is one thing, but I mean, get those people, get that knowledge, profit from that, and give back to those people who actually were so kind to help you at the beginning of your path as an entrepreneur, or at any stage. of you and as an entrepreneur or as a person, because you need to surround with people who are better than you, and that's extremely important for your own development.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned a lot the human aspect, the people, the expertise of people in your business. And I was wondering, is there a strong entrepreneurship startup founders ecosystem in Spain, or do you look internationally as well? How does that work?
My feeling is that it's progressed quite a bit in the last 2 or 3 years. As I said before, you count the corporate venture programs that are being launched, the incubator programs that are being launched, the whole startup ecosystem, I think has seen a boom.
Yeah.
Traditionally, I think it used to be a technological innovation driven startup ecosystem, but I think that's changing now, and we're seeing a lot of activity in the food space.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that is relevant, I think, food entrepreneurs, we know each other, we talk to each other, we learn from each other regarding, okay, what's working, what's not working, which retail chain is more open to innovation, which are not, etc. That's extremely relevant to avoid wasting time, mostly, and that's key for us.
Yes, it's very beautiful and very useful. And in terms of your company culture, how would you describe that? And do you have a principle or a motto that you run the company by?
Thoughtful disagreement has to be.
Yeah. So there's a principle that was coined by Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a famous investor, and he calls it thoughtful disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, what it is, I think there's two parts to this concept. There's, on one hand, you have to be able to receive criticism for an idea that you've posed or you've presented. So you have to be ready to accept a different point of view. So it requires your ego to be curbed or contained, so you don't get hurt all the time. And you have to be ready to renounce your idea for something better. And on the other hand, I said there's two parts. The second part is, I think you have an obligation when you're receiving an idea to help that person see something that he hasn't seen. So you can take his idea and make it even better. And I think that's that for us. I think in essence, that's what constructive or thoughtful disagreement is all about. It's about me making your idea better and you letting me make your idea better, and vice versa.
And building on each other.
That has embedded humility, that has embedded collaborative mode, that has embedded a searching or an entrepreneurial spirit, because you need to be willing to learn, you need to be willing to understand that there's something beyond your own existence and what you're thinking of. So that's, for us, is, I think that single value, it drives many of the other values of the company that we want to transmit to our employees and to the people consuming our products too, of course.
That's very powerful. Thank you very much for sharing this, and thank you very much for your time today. It was a real pleasure to have you on the show. If our listeners want to get in touch or interact with you and the brand, where can they find you?
They can reach out to us through the website, so through the contact form, or info@pinkalbatross.com, or reach out to Pepe and me through LinkedIn or social media.
Or Instagram, whatever.
Or Instagram, yeah. Any of those channels work for us.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. It was so much fun.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Get a scene.